Welcome back to the Dana Grant Show. And I have a special guest in the house today. Danielle Amos is not only called the Mystic Millionaire, she has got energy that reaches globally. I can't wait to dive in. You're going to want to pull up a chair. You're going to want to grab some tea. You're going to want to listen to every single word she says, but pay special attention to her energy because as you've heard me say a million times, everything is energy. I want to welcome Danielle to the show because her energy is, I would just say, magnanimous. It is just, I could feel it coming around the corner. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
I think that not only my audience needs to hear what you have to say, but I was doing a little bit of deep dive this morning and going back on where you started and how much synergy and things that we had in common, all the way from a panic attack to multi-level marketing, all the things. And I'm like, wow, just check, check, check. I just keep checking the box. I think we call in energetically what we align with. So let's start there. Let's start on what do you think people need to align with? And energy is not linear. It's in the energy that we're living in right now, in the world we're living in right now. What do entrepreneurs and people need to know in order to align with their energy and to attract what the abundance that they want and they probably desire?
Well, I would say aligning their energy to truth. And I often say truth with a capital T. And
Mm.
that truth being really, do you know what and who you are as an infinite being? And that might sound like kind of out there for some people. And if it does, that's okay. I've got like a framework in which you can align to as far as your next level, because each of us, and I'm sure if they're listening to your show, Dana, knows that they're made for more, knows that there's a next level for themselves, and perhaps doesn't want to hustle the way they've always hustled to get it. They have an idea that there's a better way or an easier way, but let's not worry about the how right now. Let's ask, okay, what is it that you really desire, that you really
Mhm.
want in a universe where anything's possible? What are you courageous enough to admit and get that down on paper? And
Mm.
then I'd love you to focus on the amount of money. And I'd like you to align to that. So I'm the millionaire mentor, so I love to speak about money
Yeah.
and put down an amount. And I like to play some games. So if you think about the most you've ever earned in a month, and then let's 10x that just for fun. So let's say the most you've earned is 5,000 or 10,000 or 100,000. Add a zero and a lot, and then focus on that number. So maybe if the most you've earned is 10,000 for some easy
Right.
math, let's make it
Yeah.
100,000 now.
Yeah.
And you right now, the version of you that showed up listening to this podcast
Yeah.
is in alignment with the 10K a month. Why do I know that? Because that's your results.
Mm.
Because it's what you're getting. Your results always show the truth as to what you're like who you've been being. And so
Mhm.
let's 10x that. And what I'd like you to align to is actually a possibility, a potentiality that exists in the universe. And I'd like you to align to that next level version of you. So in this case, it'd be the 100,000 per month. And that
Okay.
version of you has thoughts, feelings, and actions of physical reality because we exist on three planes. That's what I'd like people to align with. Now, when I said I'd like them to align with truth in the beginning, I believe that the ultimate upgrade is for you to remember the truth of who and what you are. And that is an unlimited being. So that goes way beyond 100,000 per month if we're talking income, if we're talking money. But for
Right.
most people, they can't fathom a million a month or 10 million a month. And so when we can
Mhm.
instead incrementally grow through desires of what that next level is, then ultimately I will get you to the truth of who and what you are, which is limitless.
Mhm.
But we'll
Where do
take
you
the
think,
daily steps.
slowing down around that, where do you think people get hooked up in their I'll try to stay away from like limited beliefs. Where do they trip themselves up and where might they sabotage in this, okay, I'm doing it. You know, here they are. They're enthusiastic. This is how much I've made. I'm 10x in it. I'm ready. Where along the way do you see that most people derail? Where you have to
Well,
bring them back on course?
yeah, the very first step usually is that they will keep, I'll tell them to 10x, and they'll keep that number conscious. They'll
Mhm.
never allow themselves to become emotionally involved with the number. And so it stays in their conscious mind, and then nothing happens in the universe. They don't start
Mm.
attracting opportunities because your conscious mind is all like the knowing, and it's like but it's
Mm.
not where manifestation, like if you want to move it into form, which it is what manifestation is, the transmutation of energy,
Yeah.
it must move into the subconscious mind. And how you move that idea into the subconscious mind is by you becoming emotionally involved with it. And so you've got to, if you're going to keep it conscious and logical,
Mm.
like one day I'll ride on a private jet, one day I'll have $1 million in sales. And I think we do it, Dana, to your point, is as a way of protecting ourselves. Because what if
Mm.
it doesn't happen? So I'm
Yeah.
not going to get emotionally involved with this. I'm not going to create future memories. I'm not going to go out and, you know, test drive the car or interview team members because like what if it's
Yeah.
not sustainable,
Yeah.
like then I'm just going to hurt myself. And I'm not going to tell my kids I'm going to
Mm.
take them to Disneyland because what happens when I disappoint them? It's like fuck no. You
Yeah.
get emotionally involved with it, get it into your subconscious
Yeah.
mind, and become the version of you and get anchored in and become obsessed with it
Mm.
because that's the only way it moves into form, into the physical form. So I would say right from the beginning, a lot of people don't allow themselves to get emotionally involved. And here's the thing, Neville Goddard, his book,
Yeah.
like he says, feeling is the secret, but yet the masses don't actually feel.
I love that. And how many of us are always trying to downplay our energy because we're too much and we're showing up with too much. And we're like, how can I be a little bit less so I don't become so intimidating with all that energy? And it's
Yeah.
like, gotta upgrade that energy. So that being said, I'm all about, I love universal laws. I love playing with them. I love the energy. I love the interaction. And I know you do too. What would
Yeah.
you say are the top universal laws people can utilize instantly? Like, here you go. This is tap into this, tap into that. It'll support this.
Yeah. Well, I would say let's use the law of laws that Emerson said. That's the law of cause and effect. Understanding that every result, every experience in your life had a cause.
Yeah.
Most people, the masses will say, okay, yeah, I can see that. You do this and then this happens. No, I'm not talking about the causes in the physical world. I'm not talking about your actions. Your actions are a part of it, but it's not the starting point. And
Yeah.
that's a big problem in the way people assume they get results. They assume hard work gets you success. It's not
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
It does not matter how hard you work.
Yeah, and this is where your
Oh,
genius is. I mean, you are the mystic millionaire that attracts, don't work harder, work smarter,
yeah.
attraction, and the quantum field of everything's available to you. So I love that you're diving into this.
Yeah, and so this is like for me, I see a lot of yeah, just like we can be limited if we think it's just our actions that
Mm.
create the effect. If you think the cause is in the physical world, it's actually not. It's in the spiritual realm and the intellectual realm. So your
Mm.
thoughts actually create a cause, an effect.
Mhm.
And those thoughts are, and you were having thoughts all day long, and
Yeah.
many of your thoughts, 97% of your thoughts are habitual. And so that's why if I just like looked at your results right now and then went back, I can probably tell you what you've been thinking
Yeah.
because that's the cause. So I would say the cause and effect law is the law of laws, Emerson, and how you use that law for your advantage right now is to pay attention and observe how you react to situations, what's going on inside, just like like out of curiosity, like, oh, I just received this email. What's going in my mind? I just received this bill. What
Mm.
not what am I saying out loud consciously to impress someone like Dana, but instead, like what's really happening
Yeah.
and observe. And that will be the cause to many of the effects that you've been receiving, you've been experiencing. So, law of cause and effect for sure. And then the law of opposites. I don't know about you, but
Mm.
I love the law of opposites because it's so misunderstood. So, let's say you've got a goal to 10x your income, like what we just said, your
Mhm.
revenue, and you put that out there and you plant
Mhm.
that seed and you
Mhm.
become emotionally involved with it. And so, and for most people, like that, well, that 10x is going to represent prosperity. And so the
Mhm.
law of opposites states that in order for you to experience prosperity, you must experience lack of prosperity,
Mm.
which would mean poverty or lack or limitation. And so the universe will create a situation or the context so
Mhm.
that you can experience prosperity. It must have you experience lack, limitation, or poverty first because you can't
Mm.
have hot if you don't have cold.
Right.
You can't have up if you don't have down. It's we live in this universe that's relative with the opposites like that. And so when you go or you're going for something and you plant that seed and you're taking action,
Mhm.
in order for you to experience the 10x, you're going to need to experience the lack of the 10x. And it
Mhm.
will always come first to create the context of what it feels
Right.
like to have it. And it most people get stumped up. So they might receive a big invoice or a tax bill or something that for a moment pings them and hurts them. And
Mhm.
this is where most people take the foot off their gas or they're saying it's like it's not
Yeah.
working. But
Yeah.
it's actually how you respond to that bill. How you
Right.
respond matters and it dictates what comes next. Most people panic and they're like, oh my gosh, it's not working. Look, I'm like
Yeah.
going for this and here's these bills. But no, it's like actually law of opposites. You're coming right on time.
Yeah.
That in order for me to hold the $100,000 months, I've got to hold the opposite of it. And I know that money's infinite. I know that money's just a number. It's the energy and how I respond to this dictates what comes next. And if I can lean through and move through this
Right.
situation in an alignment with my truth that the
Right.
$100,000 a month is right there, how would I really be responding to this? Well, I would see it as no big deal. And
Right.
so and in gratitude for the resources and the money. And if I can move through that with grace in that way, then what is on the other side is the beauty and the prosperity. Most people get stuck there and they don't do that. They
I
let
love that. I share a lot of transparency with and I think we did discuss this before. I have a lot of power in the one-on-one, and I don't give up my one-on-one coaching because I love it so much. So there's a portion of my life that does a lot of that, but I'm very transparent, and I probably am transparent on stage too, because I believe that that vulnerability and transparency lets people know that it doesn't mean that I attract all of this because it's a perfect circumstances. I
oh
let them know of
totally
huge tax bills, of bottoms falling out, of foreclosures, of unbelievable situations that I've dealt with, but it's how I hold space. I don't even compartmentalize. I just, like I said, I'm curious. Oh, that's interesting timing. I wonder what's next because this wouldn't be coming if there wasn't something. So I'm almost
bingo
excited. It's like,
bingo
oh my gosh, this is showing up because I am quantum leaping right now. And so I'm always thinking nothing's going to stop. So I get it minimal energy. Doesn't mean I don't address. I don't put my head in the sand. I address it. I do everything I need to do, and then I move on to holding space for okay, let's go. It's like a rodeo. Come on,
yeah
giddy up. Let's go. And what do you think about that?
I
Are
love
there
it
any steps that I'm missing? Let's use me as like we'll put me under the microscope because I'm
yeah
totally cool with that. Um, are there any steps that I'm missing? Like I'm good with that. It's not that I repeat the cycle, but I do see. And what about the people out there that are like, man, it happened. I'm doing this, and the cycles are repeating, and I'm not getting what I need, or I'm getting what I need. It comes in, and then it stops, and I don't see it again. And it's like,
yeah
but it happened that one time, and I'm doing and doing and doing and showing up, and they're so frustrated that they're not attracting.
Mm. Well, I would say that for those people that are frustrated because they're like holding it and they can see it going faster than it's coming, I
Yes.
would imagine that's actually not true. It
Mm,
might appear that way, but what
right.
is probably missing is that it is coming, but you are uh, brushing the wins under the rug a little bit, like, and not
Mm,
celebrating them as big as you can because they're not as big as you want. So let me give you an
mm,
example. We could have a client come in and they've just paid $1,000. And so $1,000, but and you just like brush it because like normally you're used to $10,000 clients or more. And so
yeah.
so that thousand or maybe it's $10, you're like, oh, no big deal. And the email comes in and you kind of just like push it to the side. Well, here's the thing. I always say to my clients, you've got to be grateful for the 10 cents for the 10 million to come through, the dime. And are you truly celebrating
Yeah.
that
Uber
thousand
came in this
dollars?
morning when I walked
Yeah, of
into, and I
course.
knew you were coming today, and I'm like, and the
Of
pennies.
course.
It's like
Yeah.
signs all over the place. When you came in, it was like the whole energy of my office is like I could feel a different vibration, holding space for enormous
More.
energy and more. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because more is abundance, more is prosperity. And so we can underestimate the power of the thousand or the dime, but really it's are you able to celebrate the having in the physical, what you already have, what's already coming through, or do you take it for granted? And most people are taking it
Mm,
for granted. And so, but they're so focused on, well, I just got that $2,000 bill or 20,000 bill, and that they blow up and you make mountains out of molehills.
yeah.
And then all this time you're downplaying your wins. Let's
Yeah.
do the
Oh,
opposite.
downplaying the wins. You know what? I think that that's huge when you just said that because I think a lot of people are attracting, but it's not enough because they're using the art of comparison. But if I was
Totally.
like her, I'd be doing 100 million or 100,000, and why am I not getting that? I'm only getting 1,000, and they're not
Yeah,
celebrating. So you're saying if they celebrate that 1,000, it gives that 1,000. It's I think of it as like yeast, and you add a little warm water, and it just keeps growing,
absolutely.
and it's
Yeah,
just like,
because
oh my god, yeah.
yeah, yeah, because they focus on it's going to grow and they're celebrating and they're getting their mind over, well, it's just 1,000. If you're going to see it as just 1,000,
Yeah.
then it's, yeah. And so I believe, Dana, a lot of people are, they don't want to celebrate. Instead, they compare or they look at
Oh,
what's
yeah.
going out and make those mountains out of molehills because that's how we were programmed. We were programmed to see
Yeah.
what was wrong, to
Yeah.
exaggerate the problems. And we were taught to be
Yeah.
humble and not
Yeah.
brag. But
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like,
And we're still
no,
women are still doing that. And of
it's
course,
so,
yeah, I mean, I
yeah,
grew up, the sky is falling. Everything that went wrong was huge. Flat
yeah,
tire, no matter what went wrong, I didn't celebrate what I had. It was the sky is falling, the sky is falling. What am I going to do? This is I catastrophized everything.
yeah,
Until I
yeah,
didn't, until I
yeah.
said, "Wait," until I understood. And then the minute I understood, I switch it. What can people do that are actually doing that? Maybe they're even subconsciously doing it. They're not listening to their words or their upgraded language. What can they
Mhm.
do right now? They're identifying with what you're saying. They're saying, "Yeah, I do that." What's the first step they can do to
Yeah.
shift the energy, the action?
Well, I would stop being modest, instead being honest, and
Mm,
celebrate how fabulous you are and how fabulous
mm,
your life is. And here's the truth, there's always someone who is watching you, wishing they had or were doing or were being what you are today. Every one of
mm,
us, it doesn't matter where you are.
mm.
You
Yeah,
might be living, I don't know, in a trailer and that looks better to someone living somewhere else, you know? So,
right,
like, please don't underestimate where you are, and
right.
and instead of being modest, be honest with how fabulous your life is. So, right
Mm.
away, focus on what you currently have, what you're currently doing, what you're currently being. And this is, in the spirit of gratitude and
I was just
appreciation.
gonna say, we're going back to the spirit of gratitude. You're going
Yeah.
back to the highest vibration of, if
Yeah.
everything's energy, gratitude is one of our highest vibrations that
Totally.
we can utilize. It's so interesting because I pulled the card while you were talking and I'm like, what energy are we in right now? And it was and it's so funny because her podcast I just taped it, Rebecca Campbell, and it's the
Oh,
ever unfolding rose, and it's cracked open. It's not happening for you, but the rose is also the highest vibration in the universe in scent. And so we're in the highest vibration of what we can attract. And when I looked at that, I thought about I looked at my notes here about universal laws, magnetizing abundance, but you really focus, Danielle, on self-image. Let's
mm,
dive into that, on what you mean by focusing on the self-image of how obviously you see yourself. And how does
yes.
self-image
Mm,
influence how we show up, our success, our wealth? Because everybody, let's face it, there isn't anybody, I don't care what they say, that does not want some form of success and wealth, even if it's living in the mountains and in a cabin and being a minimalist with a dog. That's still their idea of success and wealth. It doesn't have to mean millions of dollars,
mhm.
although I do believe
Good.
that most people do desire an easier life, a simpler life, and I think money does support that. That's just my own personal beliefs.
Yeah, and if abundance truly is your birthright and there is unlimited resources of money, which there is, why not attract all of it? And if it's not something because you want a minimalist life, then give it all away,
I was,
but
yeah,
still use your uh,
yeah,
abundant like birthright and attract it to you
yeah,
and give it away then. I mean, why not if it's available,
yeah.
right? So,
You, I love that you just said that. I did a little test, and I wouldn't have remembered this until you just said that. It was when the campfire happened. I live in, Northern California, and the campfire was right here. And I just flown in from Italy, and I was saying, "Oh my God, that's the most beautiful sunset ever." But it was a fire that was the smoke, and I had no idea
wow.
the tragedy that was unfolding. But I took 6 months off work. I used every bit of my income. I didn't even think of saving for a rainy day. I just knew people were on the side of the road and people were dying and people were hungry and cold and scared and we didn't have enough resources. And I thought all hands on deck. So I didn't even intend it. 6 months off. I I think I raised $4 or $5,000 and I said I'd match it. Well, I matched everything I had, which was a lot more. I
Wow.
never regretted it. There's no tax write off. I wasn't a licensed therapist, so I didn't get paid. I did events. I showed up. I did trauma coach. I did it all. And it what
Amazing.
and I never said this is what I'm doing. But what I wanted to do was I wanted people to start over and feel safe and know that they were seen. But everything I gave, Danielle, I never thought of giving anything back. And there were many people that don't remember, like, who was that woman? They're in the midst of trauma. But someone
Yeah.
reached out recently and said, you gave me an Italian pot that I still use to this day because you said, and I filled it with organic soup and breads and I made it all. I decided to make everyone meal. I don't even know what I was thinking, but
Yeah.
it was, I just did it. And they said, I still use that pot and think about that soup and think about that was our first hot meal.
Wow.
But since then, not knowing that I need something out of it, I just knew I had to be in service.
Yeah.
That next year, I hit close to $1 million. Not I slowed down, I took 6 months off and I attracted more than I've ever done. Let's talk about that dynamic. I mean, that's just my story
Yeah.
of what I showed up, did, not meaning to do anything, probably
Yeah.
reckless in taking that time off. But
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I just got shivers, full body shivers listening to your story. Um,
And let's say I rented, I'd lost my house, I didn't own a home. I'm
yeah.
leasing a home. I'm not in a great spot, but
Yeah.
I do have a beautiful home that I'm
Yeah.
leasing and I was safe and all the things. So for me, I never thought that I was lacking. I just
Yeah. Well, and you were following intuition and a deep
Yeah.
desire to serve, and you were using the law of giving and receiving. And so, but you weren't trading. So you weren't doing it to get, which is really important. You were giving money and giving
Yeah.
love. If anything that we desire, if you want more love, more money, give it first.
Mm,
And but you
beautiful.
can but you've got to be really careful you aren't trading. So there would have been some people, Dana, in
Mm,
your position who were giving to the communities be to get something. Like
So
if I show up,
expectations
right,
of
and that doesn't work. That's trading energy. But you are
mm,
really truly showing up and making a difference because you were compelled to.
yeah,
Intuitively, you were compelled. And
yeah.
so the abundance didn't come from the family you gave soup for. They didn't send you a check for $5,000 after that,
No.
because it doesn't come from who we give. And this is also another expectation that people, like, if I help you, then you'll buy from me. Like, that's often an
Mm,
expectation people have, but it's not
yeah,
true. You give to give because
yeah,
intuitively your heart tells you to give, your higher self tells you, and you're not attached. And then you receive from the infinite storehouse of the universe, from the infinite pathways, and that might look completely different from the area in which you gave. And that's what you
yeah,
experienced. And
yeah.
so it's not about, again, this goes back to the causes. It's not because you worked harder, Dana, for that millions. In fact, you worked less
I
in
did.
the physical world. You took 6 months off. Well, that's not what we're taught, is it? We're
No.
taught that that's not logical. You even said irresponsible, but it's not. When you understand universal laws, it's actually exactly how it works. But and you've got to be like, for you, you were just doing what you were compelled to do. You followed a deep desire to serve. If you would have been in a position of desperation, going, I need to figure this out, let me go teach to the shelter where everyone that's lost their homes, and that will somehow, then now I'm giving service which will come back to me in my business. If you did that, you wouldn't have got the results that you got.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I don't know if anyone even knew who it wasn't important. It was just important that I show up on the side of the road and give boxes of socks, blankets. I saw faces and just this is what I can do right now and hopefully
Yeah.
and I never thought about that, but you're right. I was so guided, I could not do it.
Yeah.
And there wasn't
Which
anything
is
I
so
wanted
powerful.
back except for I couldn't make everything okay. And there was one in particular, I tried did everything I could, and I had worked with her, and she lost her home and her animals, and I said, "Hey, after a while, I need you to show up." That wasn't okay. I should have given her a lot more space, and I lost that relationship. It
Mm,
was probably already. She's like, "How could you ask me to show up? I've just lost my house, my
mm.
animals. I'm devastated. I'm broke." There was an expectation. I thought, well, can we get back to work now? Like after, but that I learned a very powerful lesson on too, on grace, how I showed up, my nervousness of, okay, I've taken down. Can we get going now? And there wasn't alignment there to begin with. And
Yeah,
I
and I would also say you're doing your best with the resources you had.
yes,
And so
yes,
to really acknowledge yourself with that,
yeah,
and you grew from it, and perhaps there's things you would change the next time if you found yourself
yeah,
in that situation. And at the same time, Dana, you were doing your best, and that best,
yeah,
it was super powerful. And like
yeah,
life's always happening for us, even when there's a
mm,
situation in it
yeah,
where, like, she got frustrated or whatever. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong here, right? It's
yeah,
actually perfect for
yeah.
both of you.
Yeah, I saw that later on, but I kept trying to say, "What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? What could I?" But then I shifted. I think because of that, I kept asking, "What can I do better?" And and now
Mhm.
it's like it moves very quickly, the energy, and I'm like, "What do I need to know? What can I do better?" Because I always believe that if someone's coming to me with something and I've not done what can I do better here?
Yeah.
And because I believe that I can always expand and do better and sometimes I'm exhausted with that. I just got back, I think, a month in Europe and walking the Camino, and I was with my daughter for a week. And, old stories were coming up. I didn't want to say, what could I do better? I wanted to say, look at what I'm doing. Can this just be not enough? And I lost it for a micro minute. And then I stopped, breath, and
Yeah.
said, what can I do better? I'm sorry. What can I do better here? And I think that our ego wants to come in. So let's talk about that, where the ego comes in, shuts it down, and what we can do to stay open and connected. Because
Mm.
if we're open and connected to source with where all our infinite money and flow is coming, and people are always shutting that down because they're defensive or and we see it every day. And you're like, oh, well, boom, that door shut, boom, that door shut. I shut any kind of relationship at that moment. And I saw it and I'm like, oh, shizzle, I'm going to pay for this for a few hours, but I'm going to stay open. I'm going to hold space because that's my job. That's my
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
And I'm being so what do you say to the people that are shutting it down, defensive, and they're like, I've done enough and I've done everything, and and there might be some
Mm.
victimhood in there because I even thought about poor me, look what I'm doing, and I just got my suitcases robbed, and don't you see all my losses? I mean, when I should have just said, ah, you know what? This happened, let's move on. I did, and it didn't take me very long to metabolize that. I mean, I moved very quickly. The old me would have been stuck there, maybe a year.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think that's one of the gifts of this work is our ability to get back up faster,
Mm.
right? And transmute the energy rather than staying in our
Mm.
victim, our reasons or
Transmute the energy.
excuses. Yeah, and I would say, like we're all human, so things happen
Yeah.
and a circumstance can happen or a situation we can attract into our life. And anytime that I notice that I'm really playing the victim piece, I'm like, wait a minute, like how can I take radical responsibility? But it takes a moment sometimes,
Takes a moment. Takes
you
a little bit
know?
of breath.
Yeah. And that's okay. We're human. And
Yes.
when I look back, like you said, oh, well, this may have taken me out for a year. Like I've had things that have taken me out for a year
Yeah.
or two.
Yeah.
I remember arguments with my husband at the time that like I would cancel appointments for work. I'd cancel webinars, I'd cancel interviews like this. And
Yeah.
it would take me a few days. And
To
now
recalibrate.
totally. And now I'm able to get back up faster. It's not that I don't attract problems, let's call them, but I see them now as opportunities and gifts.
Yeah.
And I like what you said, can I do better? And then I think, is there a way of being that I'm not seeing, like just simply through my perception, because I'm limited right now in this perception of what
Yeah.
is? And can I
Yeah.
have a different point of view that will open me up to a new possibility? And let's go back to what I said at the very beginning, like truth with a capital T, like truth as like universal law is truth, or truth how like God sees me or the universe sees me, that kind of truth.
Mhm.
And that kind of truth is not the same kind of truth that I'm here with my human eyes saying good, bad,
Mm.
right, or wrong. God doesn't see good, bad, right,
Yeah.
or wrong. Like everything just is.
Yeah.
It's the human me that judges.
Oh, I love that because she was just speaking her truth and I was protecting the pain, the shame, and
Yeah.
I wanted to fix that and make it okay. Can't you see me now? I did, and then I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa! I have to hold space for that truth. So I think, do you think that this is where people get hooked up? If we're looking at, I mean, I think of the Mystic Millionaire, all this energy swirling around that's available to us, all this abundance, that's our birthright. And where people get hung up and where we get stuck in our thinking and our energy. And I think of the resilience and the ability to put it down and move forward. Where would you say that people can do that? How can they metabolize that? I say metabolize it because it's, I think of it as eating and metabolizing it very quickly. It's like up, burn through that. It's like burning through it. You know, it's kind of like burning through karma. And people think soul contract. I get going like a little bit wide and deep here, but
Yeah.
sometimes people will say it's just my karma never to make money. It's my soul
Mhm.
contract. I'm in this lifetime. I'm never going to do it. I've heard this from unbelievably spiritual leaders that are so talented, and I'm like, well, you just wrote that story and close the
Yeah.
chapter. You just wrote that book and closed the book. What do you say to people like that that are doubling down on those stories
Yeah.
energetically?
I mean, okay, I would say like, well, that's cool. That might be true that karma exists in this lifetime.
Mhm.
Do you want that for your entire life? Like, do you want that suffering? Because here's the thing, you get
Mm,
to have what you want and desire. And so if
mm,
you don't want it for your entire life in this body, then choose, like, write a new story, burn through the karma. That might be right now, but like lean in. I had this. conversation. You and I met through Danielle Laporte. I had this conversation with her in Egypt, and I'm like, no, like I don't believe that. That might be someone's contract for a period, and yes, it
Yeah.
can extend for their entire life if they
Yeah.
choose it, but they don't
Yeah.
have to choose it.
No.
And so burn through it, like lean in. And is it going to be like rapid fire learning? Probably. And you can do it. Like it's 2025. The world is changing so fast. So
Yeah.
are you.
Yeah.
Like lean in.
So let's talk about the
Yeah.
karma that we get. I mean, I look at my life up to, I just turned 61. I look at all these years, there was some serious karma, there was some serious chaos, repeated cycles, self and then I shifted and I felt like I burned through it very quickly. And now I'm at a level of attraction and manifestation. And I look back and I love every version of me that got me here because she suffered so intensely, so
Mhm.
intensely. What do you
Mhm.
say to the people? Because I think most people that are here have suffered, have
Totally.
endured. Like you said, the law of I say polarity, but the law of opposites. I mean, I look at where that was in my mindset and where I am now, and it couldn't be any more opposite. How can we flip that for people that are listening right now and saying, "Man, I'm there. How do I flip it and get there?" Is it a one
Well,
and done, or is it a long practice? Is it going to take me years? Am I burning through years of karma, or can I like move fast?
yeah, well, I would say don't resist or
Mm,
avoid.
don't resist.
And the emotions that you're feeling, transmute them and use tools to do so. And understand that you aren't your emotions and that you actually, and you're not your beliefs and you're not your thoughts. You choose your thoughts, and a belief is just a belief that you keep thinking. So, like, lean in and be honest with yourself and be
Mhm.
willing to observe and understand who and what you are, and rather than avoid it. So that is
Yeah.
the same for every area of your life, relationships, money, your career, your self-image. Like lean in and be open and honest. And you might, if you really want to burn through it quickly, I would say get support so that you're fast tracking, because you're in your limited paradigm or your programming. And so your perception of you will be limited. So this is why
Mhm.
mentorship and coaching is so helpful, because Dana, you're not in my paradigm. I'm not in your paradigm. So the way that I
Yeah.
view and observe you is going to be different. And you
Yeah.
have your reasons and excuses, and I don't have them. And
Yeah.
so get the support and like go for it, and
Yeah.
notice anytime that you are resisting or that you are like skirting around, or and
Yeah.
stop that.
So write a new story. I love that. Write a new story. Stop resisting. I say the waiting game is like, what are you waiting for? Or someone like just getting back from the Camino, everyone says, oh, that's on my bucket list. I'm like, why are your dreams in a bucket? I
Mhm.
visualize your bucket filling up with all of your hopes and dreams. And I'm like, what is that doing there? Take action, make it happen. I mean, I
Go
would have
for
been
it
in
like
Egypt with
now.
you. I would have been in Egypt with you had I not done the Camino. I'm like, can I pull off like two? No, I couldn't pull off 2 months off and it overlapped, but boy, did it look magical. And perhaps next time because it looked, but writing a new money story looks like what? What can we plug in there? I'm writing a new money story. We started this out saying TEDx.
Mhm.
If this is the month you've made, visualize that. What are 2 steps they can do to visualize and get out of their own story? Because
Mhm.
the subconscious is so powerful. It's so powerful, especially if they're like, this is my life. I can't change my circumstances. And you're like, but you can. But you
Yeah.
can. And they're
Well,
like,
you created them in the first place,
yeah,
so
yeah, and you manifested. You called all that in to evolve. But
yeah.
what would you say for the people that are 10xing? I've done it. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Nothing, and then they get angry because nothing's
Yeah.
happening. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say that just because you have an absence of evidence in your 3D world, it's not evidence of absence that things are moving.
Mm. Oh, I
So
love that.
there is so much happening in the background that you can't see. And just because you can't see it in the physical doesn't mean that it's not moving in the vibrational realm. And it just hasn't yet moved into form. But what you could do is notice where. things are shifting in your life. Like if you've really have created the image of you with a 10x income and you've created that picture in your mind, you've written it out, and we think in pictures, so we got to write because writing causes thinking, we think in pictures. So write out that image of your 10x life and then allow yourself to get emotionally involved with it, just like we were saying at the beginning. And if you are staying in that emotion through visualization, things will start to move. You'll maybe lose a client or a contract because it's making room for a bigger one. You might receive that
Mm,
invoice, and if you understand the law of opposites, you know that invoice is a really good sign. Then from there, you might get an invitation for a podcast, and
mhm.
all of these things
Yeah,
are is proof, but you don't need the proof to believe. And if you do, then that's not faith, right? It's like
right.
you have faith, you have understanding because you understand how these laws work. And while you're like in the waiting, you're not sitting back waiting for things. You're like actively viewing the world from that goal achieved self. You're actively showing up in the mindset, the thinking and thought, the thinking and feelings of that person that's living that life. Then it doesn't take very long for the stuff to show up in the physical. But I would say absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So that's
Mm,
like a very, um, if I want to say like uneducated, or like I even would use the word like ignorant. So ignorant
mm.
means a person is, I used to think ignorant meant rude, but it actually means like lack of understanding. When you
Yeah,
are ignorant, it just means that you don't
you
yet
don't under
understand.
yeah.
And so you might be frustrated, but that frustration comes from ignorance. You don't understand that it's not in your bank account yet,
I
but
love
it's
that
on
yet
its
word.
way to
I love
you.
that yet word because I always say it's not yet.
Yeah.
When I met you, it was such serendipitous. It was so guided. It was such a chaotic, busy day that I just literally pulled the brake on. I could hear the smoke on the tires. And I pivoted and I said, cancel everything. I'm showing up here. And there you were. And I was late, a little disheveled, hungry. My book had just launched. Everything was wrong. The editing hadn't happened. And that was very guided. Our connection was guided. I was meant to be there. The words that you gave me an elevated vision of what was happening. It shifted my paradigm where I was like going down the rabbit hole and I was pulling myself out, but it's hard to pull out sometimes our own rabbit. And, but it was so guided in a sense of, and then every time I said something really negative because I was truly spinning, you would rub your nose.
Yeah,
I loved that.
I
And I knew
forgot that
instantly what you
happened.
were doing. I'm like, "Are you brushing off the energy?" And you said I think you said you were. I love that you did that because I
Oh
think
my
we all
God.
have these idiosyncrasies of knowing that everything is energy and we're gonna take it on or we're not.
Mhm.
There's practices. What is your daily practice on taking on and receiving and saying yes and no? What does that criteria look like in Danielle's world? In this
Good.
$1 million world where I see money just
Mm.
floating abundant.
What a funny thing to go back to the on that day that we met, to remember
Yeah.
that I did that. So
Yeah.
not a lot of people catch that, Dana. So I do it so discreetly that you've kind of like blown the whistle on me a little bit, which is amazing. Um, and here's the thing, I respect you. And on that
Mm,
day, you came to the call on like a hot seat environment. It was Danielle Laporte and you had just released your book. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this, and this woman's really impressive and she's got her
mm,
things going, and you showed up, and I'm like, so I know, here's the truth. And when you're speaking to any colleague, any and not to pedestal people, but people that you respect,
mm,
if they say things, it's very, very easy for you to take it on and believe it. This is why
mm.
news is so dangerous to people who are not consciously closing their mind to it, because what happens is they get emotionally involved and they start believing it, and then that shows up in their reality.
Yeah.
So I knew that I saw you as a colleague sitting across from
Mhm.
me, and I knew. okay, I'm relaxed here. Like I'm listening to Dana, and then you were saying something about the like about how hard it was, or maybe something about the economy. So I wanted to
Yeah,
make sure that I was closing my conscious mind because I didn't want to
yeah,
take on the belief, especially because I'm also writing a book and launching it. And so I didn't want to believe that it was hard or that there were
yeah,
problems. And so I was consciously closing my mind, knowing that I saw and respected you. So I didn't want to take on some of those
yeah,
beliefs. And so I rubbed my nose in order to do that. And it's like
mhm,
wipe it away. It's like a subconscious thing.
yeah.
And so um I
Yeah,
love that you caught
intuitively,
that.
yeah. I intuitively not only saw it, but whenever spirit starts to really flow or I'm doing readings, my nose just pours. I have
Mm,
tissue, but I see the nose as an extension of energy that it's an easy thing to go boom,
yeah.
and it's like a swipe, and I'm like, did she just swipe away that energy? Oh,
Yeah.
she just did it again. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I thought it was brilliant, and I immediately connected because I thought she just let me know that number 1, she's mirroring back at me, "Mm-mm, you didn't say you're wrong. Don't
Mm.
do that. You called me out on a couple things, which I'm always so open for." And I'm like, "Oh, that's good. But you also didn't take it on," which I loved.
Yeah, it was just like that belief isn't for me. If Dana
No.
wants that belief, it can be for her, and it's
Yeah.
not one I'm choosing. And again, it takes my like my responsibility back to
Yeah.
me.
It
And so
did.
you asked about boundaries and like for my own, I'm very I use a lot of discernment to what I say yes to or who I
Yeah.
spend time with. And I
Yeah.
um so I would and I think this is true for a lot of high performing women is that like I don't have a
Yeah.
lot of friends or a lot of people I spend a lot of time with. Instead, I have few and really good friends, and then people that aren't in so much my inner part piece uh because of what we just discussed. Like it's like I
Yeah.
want to make sure that I can have open and honest conversations
Yeah.
and that the people that I'm spending time with, and this goes with clients as well. So I have a high expanse mastermind that I'm very discerning. Like people apply to come in because it's like it's close proximity. It's my mornings. It's the time where I might be a little unguarded in my energy. And I think that that's really, really important. I used to make this mean something. It's so interesting that we're having this conversation because I was having this talk with my daughter because she knows a lot of people, but she's very picky about who she spends her time with. And I said to her, like, "Oh, I think you are actually learning something or expressing a trait that it took me a long time to learn." And I used
Yeah.
to feel bad that I didn't want to hang out with a lot of people. And so I did. But it was like the truth is I knew what I was doing. I was protecting that energy. Yeah. So I would say I have definitely a process, and then I like to have conversations like what you and I are having and what we had inside that community the first day that we met. Like
Yeah.
I would expect you to do the same thing if to me with me
Yeah.
if you noticed me say something.
Yeah.
And I value that. I value that honesty. I value that sort of like no competition. We're both
Yeah.
creators.
Yeah.
We we are here to make an impact and we're better together. We're not competing. We're here holding each other accountable in the best possible way because we
Yeah.
know the truth of who we are and those are the kind of relationships I'm looking for and
I
yeah.
often say that if we truly believe in abundance, I mean, we
Yeah.
truly believe in abundance, we know there's billions of people on this planet. There is
Mm,
no competition and we are better together. And in that mirroring, I always say, I just said this to Susan Hyatt, where I walk the Camino with, I send people her way and I'm like, you are a perfect fit for them. And she just said, I can't believe you brought people to, I said, of course I did. Of course I did. Because I don't expect it back ever. But in that, I know I've got people directed in the right area where perhaps I don't wanna do that at that time, or it's not available, or I don't we don't take ownership of anyone, and we just let it flow and we direct. Often say I'm directing traffic,
yeah.
and, and if I see something, I send it to someone. I'm like, "You might wanna check her out. This might be exactly what you're looking for." I think if we all did that, it would be
Mm.
this massive I see this incredible source of connection. but
Mm.
I think it's this protectiveness of lack and there's not enough, and I've got to keep it because I work so hard and look at what I'm doing, and I see it so much, and I hope my prayer is that I hope that women see relationships like this and say, you know what? I'm gonna manifest that too. I'm
Yeah.
gonna loosen the reins, and I'm going to let that, like, flow, because I always think of it as flow and nurture. If we nurture each other and then we let the flow, and I'm so much like you with the inner circle, and someone said, "You don't have any more people to invite on your birthday?" And I'm like, "No." Should I? Should I have more? But I didn't. I only had a few because I
Mm.
don't have that big circle locally. And I keep just very few people at that kitchen table, very, very few. And and it means something to me. And I would say the older I get, the more discernment I use because I don't get this energy back.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that I'm using that discernment, like you said,
Yeah.
to call in and connect and expand and put my energy there versus energy of being I just don't think it's possible to be liked everywhere and to be loved everywhere. You know,
And I also think that there's something to really like ask yourself, is this relationship growing me and expanding me? Like, or
mm,
am I able to fall back on patterns that I
mm,
don't love? And
yeah,
so I think it's just so brilliant when you can, like, it takes something for you to show up for the other person.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you're not, and there's nothing wrong with like showing up in your sweats and like being vulnerable and all that. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But it's like,
yeah.
you know, to have this conversation with you, I wrote about who I'm being with you on the call.
Mm,
And it's
I love that.
calling me into my highest next level self.
Yeah,
I'm not going to just show up and not
and wing
be
it.
intentional. Yeah. And not
I'm
be
gonna just
intentional
wing
about
that.
it.
Yeah, yeah. It
Right?
feels
Does that
intentional,
resonate with you? So I think that, like,
deeply.
for me, I want to be in relationships where it's calling me forward.
Mm, I love that. And you talk a lot about self-image and how we
Mhm.
see ourselves. So I love the fact that you practice what you preach.
Yeah.
Danielle Amos, you are so amazing. I mean, I could talk to you forever. And
Mhm.
I know we have a limited time. I've got like 2 minutes before your next call. Okay, so where can people find you? What do you have offered right now? Are you
Mm.
speaking? Is your mastermind open? Are you doing one-on-one coaching? Lay it out. And is there anything coming up that we need to know about?
Amazing. Well, I am going on a bit of a speaking tour. I'll be in Houston and then New York. And yeah, so following me on Instagram, checking me out on Instagram is probably the
Okay.
best place at the
So
Danielle.
that's your hub. Instagram is where they can find, and your website is where they can find dates. And I love your website,
Yeah.
by the way. I go there
Thank-
often. I just send it to my team and I'm like, do you see all this? Bing.
Oh my gosh,
I
thank you.
did. I loved it. And I said, we don't need to duplicate, but just look at the energy here. I love it. So I just
Thank
want to
you.
tell you that I love it.
Yeah, we just opened our Expanse Mastermind as well. I had it closed for a couple of years as I was focusing on my family and the dynamics there. And
Mm,
so that feels really exciting, for me to call in close as we were just talking
mm.
about the discernment.
Is
Um,
that evergreen? Is it going to be a constant, flow of new people, or are you opening, closing 1 year, 6 months? What does that look like?
yeah, it's 3, 6, or 12 months, and it will open and then close it, and then it will
Okay.
kind of just depend on how people renew and that kind of thing. It's a very small group and it's online and in person. So there's in-person events every quarter.
Mm,
I love creating experiences and having women break through, especially their self-image through experience. And I used to be in event planning. So it's like very meticulous in detail and luxurious, of course. And
yeah.
I love spoiling people. So it feels good to be
Mm,
bringing that back. And there's a very specific woman that I'm calling in for that. I know that there are women who are already successful, but they know that they're made for more, but
mm,
they can't imagine hitting that next level by hustling any harder. Like, they've hit that glass ceiling doing the things that they've doing the way that they know to do it. and
Yeah.
I'd like to invite in a different way. And so much
Mm.
like how you and I were talking on the hot seat, like noticing specific things in their language, or it's
Yeah.
very subtle usually at that level, but we can have so much fun with it and celebrate the heck out of the wins. Like no more being modest. Like let's
Mm.
really celebrate each other and um yeah, have so much fun while we're doing it.
Well, I adore you. I can't wait to stay connected with you, and I know I will. I'll be like, "Where are you? What's going on?" And in
Yay.
fact, you've got a couple of places that you're speaking that I'm going to be at the same time. I'm going to probably see if I align and see if we can't meet for coffee because I would
Oh, I
love
would
that.
love that.
I
Please. Yes.
yeah,
Yes, Dana.
so I can't wait. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be there, and let's see what that looks like, and see how we can connect. You know,
Yeah, in San Diego in November.
ooh,
Yeah. So I knew that there was another location. So let's do
yeah.
that.
Yeah, San Diego's like, it is California, even though San
Mhm.
Diego's like a zillion miles away from Northern California, but it's still like a hop on an hour on a plane. And,
Yeah.
it's worth it to me to zip down there and see you. So the Mystic Millionaire Mindset. I love everything about you. I love what you share. I love what you embody. I love your energy. I just adore and love you. And I'm so glad we're connected. Thank you for sharing your heart, your energy, being so intentional today. I really am grateful. I appreciate you, Danielle. Danielle Amos, we're going to give all the deets, her events coming up, her mastermind, her Instagram handle, where she hangs out. And yeah, just make sure to follow her, connect with her. You're not going to, she gives such great information, and your website. We'll give that too because it's so beautiful. Go check that out as well. Thank you for showing up. Have a great day. Everyone, thank you for joining. And until next night time, leave your mind expanded, your heart open, stay connected, and remember, abundance is your birthright.